So today we're going to talk about my Hyundai Sonata. I changed the transmission oil with transmission fluid that I found in the trash. Let's go through the steel, man. Yeah, we'll put it right here on the engine. It's been a car of mine that I've been using as a daily driver for about a year, and we're going to talk about why you may want to own one. It's a very inexpensive car to operate, to drive. It's comparable to a lot of monumental cars. The Toyota Camry, the Honda Accord, the Chevy Impala, and the Ford Taurus. These are all in the mid-size sedan category. And personally, you'd be surprised how much power the Hyundai Sonata has with the V6. We're going to talk a little bit about why you may want to own one. So how did I find my Hyundai Sonata? Well, I was on eBay, I was looking at Hyundais, I was searching through sellers that were very well rated, and I found a seller who had a mobile accessibility business for handicapped people. He specialized in scooters and wheelchairs, but he was selling his company car, which happened to be this 2009 Hyundai Sonata. And when I saw this Hyundai Sonata, I realized mechanically it looked to be in good shape, although I never saw it. But I placed a very low thank you but no thank you bid of $1,300. And at the end of the auction, I got a notification, surprisingly, that I won the car for the $1,300. So that's how I came across my 2009 Hyundai Sonata. So we're going to talk about the Hyundai Sonata interior layout. So the gauge layout is very simplistic. The left is the tachometer, center is speedometer, you have your range computer in the middle. The right side gauge indicator is the car's temperature, and then that's the fuel meter. Now I think it's laid out very well. Some cars, they're moving into a gauge-centric center console, which I personally don't like. I want the gauges to be in front of me when I'm driving. So the left of the steering wheel, you have the steering wheel stalk, and then that's the turn signal indicator, high beams on, off, and then you have headlights auto feature, which is nice. Most modern cars have the auto feature. Now, if you look at the steering wheel, there's a lot of buttons and controls on the steering wheel. What are they for? Well, the one on the left is the radio. You can mute the radio. That's the volume knob. And then there's different modes, AM, FM, XM. I don't have XM subscription. On the left, it's cruise control on and off. And then there's the resume feature. You can resume back to a prior speed that you've already programmed. So if you got off the highway and you want to get back to 65 miles an hour without achieving 65 miles an hour prior to which, you can hit resume and you're going to go back to your target cruise control speed. So I'm going to set the cruise control, the target speed, to 65 or 70. What is that, 70 right there? Okay, so and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in the slow lane here and I'm going to shut the cruise control off by just doing cancel. And then I'm going to let the car's speed drop to, say, like 45 miles an hour, and I'm going to let the cruise control go back from 45 to the original set point of 65 through the resume button. And I'm going to hit my four ways on because I've dropped, and I'm going to go to set. Now the computer is going to pull back to the original target set point, and the computer is going to take us there at the smoothest possible transition. And we're at 2,500 RPM and we are climbing up a hill. And as you can see, the way the computer is engineered, it's going to get you back to that target point absolutely as smooth as possible, with no snaps in the throttle, no vibration, no inconsistencies in acceleration. It is exactly electronically designed to take you back to that target set point as smooth as possible. And now we're on cruise control. We're doing our original 68 miles an hour, and we're on the highway. If you look up, we have a sunroof, which doesn't leak. It's all original. I love it. I use it all the time, even in the winter time. And if you look down at the dash, you can see the clock is backlit in blue. I really like the blue. It's a very nice color. Let me just wipe the dust off so you can see the screen. It's got all your presets. There's your CD player. I never tried it. And then your XM settings, if you have XM hooked up for the car. Everything would be through XM. Now, what I think is unique to this car is the air conditioning. The air conditioning is incredible. If I turn the air conditioning on this car, it's, you know, it's definitely giving you that good differential immediately. The air conditioning is very powerful in this car. So, you know, there's a lot of things that the engineers at Hyundai factored in order to do that. You know, mandrel bent ductwork, very, very oversized condenser, properly fitted compressor, all the valves, everything is sequentially, you know, operating like it was from the factory, which I think is, you know, very, very interesting for this car. It's a car with 170,000 miles, to my knowledge, and as far as the maintenance records go back, the air conditioning's never been serviced. The only thing as far as the air conditioning that's been serviced is the cabin air filter under the dash. So yeah, the car runs quiet, it runs smooth, lots of power. I'm getting around 20-25 miles a gallon, and that's hard on the throttle. You know what I mean? That's not, you know, fuel efficient in mind. That's hard on the throttle. And I think being hard on the throttle has contributed to the smoothness of the engine. Now, a lot of people say that you're hard on the engine, you're wearing it out. I say you're keeping it clean. It's more important for the engine to be clean and sludge free than it is to have the rings wear out prematurely. I think sludge is the biggest killer of any engine. So when you're constantly flooring it, you're constantly on the gas, you're removing the sludge, the soot, and the carbon buildup. And I've been a mechanic for a long time, so trust me, I'm telling you, you want to floor your car regularly, you want to keep it blown out and clean. If you look down here at the center console, there's just some different smooth operating compartments. It's like a fluid resistant window here that you can check. You can check to see if you want to keep maybe some legal documents in there. Opens and closes very smooth and fluid. There's another button there. That's your 12-volt power outlet. Now I've got some. Obviously, this is my daily driver, so I got some crap in the car here. So shift interlock, in case you have to tow it. Shift interlock, and then these are your your different functions for the transmission. Now what's cool here, you can manually override. So I reviewed a couple different cars recently, and I talked about some of the power that they had. What's unique about this is that if you wanted to pass somebody on a highway, you can make sure that you're already in a passing gear. Like the Crown Victoria, and I've talked about the power of the Crown Victoria, and believe me, the Crown Victoria has a lot of power, but to downshift on a column, you don't have that many options. So what I do is if I'm ready to pass somebody, I'm gonna downshift. I'm gonna make sure that I'm in 2 before I pass somebody, and what it does is it presets your RPM, so you literally you're in the power range when you're ready to go around somebody on 95. Which I think it gives the car the upper edge. Okay, so where are some common areas of wear that I've seen? Well, some of the plastic technology in this car just wasn't what their focus was. I think this dash is you can tell it's very cheap plastic from the factory. It's cracked in multiple places. To change the dash obviously is not economical. The leather wrapping on the steering wheel is already worn out in several places. Some of this chroming for the plastic is gone. That's within the dash, within the steering wheel controls. That's all gone. But I do think overall, mechanically, the car is still sound. I'll show you some of the imperfections in the upholstery. Now, the seat bolsters here are ripped. This seat's totally worn out for 170,000 miles. It was a rental car. I have cigarette ashes here. I don't know if a mechanic's been driving this. It's got grease on the seat. Okay, so if you want to have a car for yourself and your family, you want to ensure that the car that you're buying is safe. And when Hyundai put this car together, they brought the best engineers to figure out how to make this car as safe as possible for the budget that you're, for the budget that you're spending. You got side curtain airbags here, side curtain airbags for the passenger. You got all kind of airbags up front. It's very well rated as far as safety is concerned. And the car weighs, I think they're 3,900 pounds empty. I've been on scales with it at the scrapyard. It's like 38 to 3,900 pounds empty, depending on how much gas you have in it. So it is solid. There's no disputing that. It's solid. The doors feel heavy, the hood's heavy, the trunk's heavy. There's nothing that you can say, oh wow, they cheaped out on this. There's a lot of steel in this car, and if you were gonna get into an accident in something, God forbid, you're probably gonna walk away okay in this type of car. So the comfort and the ride quality of this car is exceptional. Most, you know, historically I think most mid-size Asian cars, you know, there's a lot of vibrations. There's always like a vibration in the door, okay? Or there's a vibration in the wheel or the shifter. This engine's running. You can really barely tell it's running. I mean, other than looking at the dash. You know, this car has very little road feel. It's got very little vibrations. It does 80 miles an hour comfortably. It cruises at 80. It wants to do 85. It wants to do 90. Absolutely no problem with that. It's very comfortable. It's got a very boaty, moderate suspension. It almost feels like you're in a Lincoln Town car, but at the same time, it's kind of responsive. Again, low center of gravity, so it could take an on-ramp, it could take an off-ramp. You're still maintaining speed. It's not like you're all over the road. It's got a very unique feel to it. I've driven some comparable Camrys, I've driven some comparable Accords. They're stiffer. It depends what you like. How do you like the road to feel? Personally, I like a little boatier feel. I like a little more softer suspension. I want to be comfortable. I don't want to feel like I'm driving a cheap compact. So this is the suspension grade that I'm comfortable with. Now, the one thing I don't like about this particular trim line, now obviously for 1,300 bucks I can't complain, but I wanted to get a car with heated seats, but this was within my price range, so I bought this. Hypothetically, next Hyundai that I buy, it's got to have heated seats. So the Hyundai engine, the 3.3 V6, is world-renowned for being a smooth engine. And what I'd like to do as a test, I just have a little bit of iced coffee left here in my glass, and we're going to use it as an indicator to determine how smooth the engine's running. If you see the vibration in the coffee, then you know the engine's vibrating. If you see nothing and the liquid is still, it's an indication that the engine is running smooth. So what we'll do is we'll just put we'll put it right here on the engine. So about this engine, you know, it's a very solid engine. It's a very well-rated engine. It can be a little tight to service for some areas. You know, I wouldn't necessarily want to change the first cats. They're buried. The alternator is somewhat buried. I guess front CV shafts could be difficult to change. I haven't done a whole lot of work to it. I've done the thermostat, I've done the radiator hoses, I've changed the alternator, a serpentine belt, I did a tune-up. You know, not too much, just basic general service. I changed a battery. The car doesn't need a whole lot. What you have to watch out for these is the oil leaks. The oil leaks from the valve covers, front, back. They leak a lot of oil. I think it caused premature wear on my alternator. It's saturated in oil. Obviously it's not going to charge, it's getting gummed up. You either live with the oil leak or you fix it, one or the other. So some things you learn to live with and some things you fix, but you have to ascertain, is it really worth fixing everything on the car, or is it not worth? Can you just drive it as is? A lot of this stuff that you find wrong with it, you just have to drive it as is. My friend's a mechanic, and he took a look at the car and he said it needed struts. You know, it's got a little bit of a bounce in the front end. You can see where there's some play there and that bushing. But you know, it's not a car you want to put a whole lot of money into. You know, you just kind of want to run it. You got to be the type of guy who can look at the big picture. Am I going to put another $1,000 into this, or am I going to drive it as is? And ultimately, I'd rather have my money in my pocket, so I'm going to drive it as is. Don't. Yeah, good shot. It's going through the steel, man. Yeah, it's shot. So what was interesting about the seller, he provided me with all the maintenance records. And I got the car, I think it had around 150,000 miles, now it's at 170. Anyway, I was dating back to, you know, from the beginning, and I couldn't find anywhere where the trans was serviced. In other words, the filter and the fluid. And so I was planning on doing a trans service. I wanted to change the fluid and I wanted to change the filter. So I go online and I'm looking at OEM comparable Asian transmission fluid, and it was very expensive. I just didn't feel like spending, you know, it was like $75 just for the fluid. And the same afternoon I was driving around and a guy threw out 2 full gallon jugs of OEM Hyundai Asian ATF fluid. I mean, maybe he got rid of the car, maybe he was just cleaning out his garage. I have no idea, but I pulled over, I saw that the fluid was correct, I took it home, I ensured that it was comparable with the car, and I changed the transmission oil on this car with transmission fluid that I found in the trash, and it's been shifting great ever since. So wherever you can save money, you know, when you're driving an older car, wherever you can save money, whether you get something in the trash or you buy it used, highly recommend it. Let me check the blow-by now that the motor's warmed up and it's running. It smells like brand new oil. It's a very masculine fragrance. So let's talk about the capacity of this car. How much stuff can it hold? Well, it's got enough room for you, all your stuff, and you can pull your boat behind it. And that's what I do. I have a little John boat that I pull on the back of the trailer hitch. And it pulls it just fine. So plenty of room in the trunk, all your gear, all your tools. The seats fold down basically flat, and you can stick a 2x4 right through to the end, and it'll be right in the middle of your center console. And no problem. I mean, absolutely no problem. So you can either put it straight, you can put it sideways, you can turn it out the window, you can leave the window ajar. I mean, I do all kind of construction with this. I actually broke the roof antenna when I put an extension ladder on the roof, and the ladder shifted a little bit and broke the antenna, so I just taped it back on temporarily. You know, the back seat has plenty of room. The upholstery here is in pretty good shape. A couple grease stains. I don't know what happened here, but just minor. There's a armrest and a very nice cup holder arrangement, which has these plastic sleeves, so no matter what size cup it is, it's gonna fit. That clips in. This folds back. All 3 seat belts. These seats come down, and you can access the trunk quick and easy. They lock back in place. Yeah, so something I was totally aware of when I bought the car was the rust. The guy photographed it well. It was in all the pictures. He notified me that the car is starting to rust out. Now, this is typical to the Northeast. The car happened to be from Maryland, near the shore area. A lot of salt air breeze coming off the ocean there. So it does have quite a bit of rust. Now, that has nothing to do with how the car responds mechanically, the operation of the car. That has nothing to do with it. You just have to watch your brake lines, you have to watch your fuel lines. You know, there's 2 very obvious spots of rust. Underneath the frame is all solid. But yeah, so there are a few things you have to watch out for. Recently, you heard on the news, a guy was clocked in Arizona doing 147 miles in a Hyundai Sonata in this generation. He was equipped with the 3.3 V6, and I believe it. I can see how someone could do 147. Now, some mechanics have said there's a computer tune, or the computer program stops it from going that fast. Personally, I don't know. I've never been that fast, but I do know that I have looked down at the speedometer and surprised myself how fast I've been going. If I just want to pass somebody, next thing you know, you're going 90 miles an hour. So you have to be very careful with this type of car. It does have a lot of power. And it's a bit of a sleeper because obviously it doesn't look like much of anything. happens is electronic stability control turns off when you're screwing with the shifter because it knows you're looking to maybe do a burnout or whatever it is you're doing. Cool. So yeah, that turns off, so you can override, you know, traction control. And so just put it in like 2. Now what I like about having this 2009 Hyundai Sonata is parts are readily available. If I needed a hose or a thermostat, or if I wanted to go buy brakes, you can walk into any auto parts store all over the country, and basically it's either there at the counter or it's there the next morning. So there's a lot of flexibility as far as parts sourcing. You can source parts from any website basically, and it's there, it's in stock, it's immediately delivered anywhere across the country. I still see them all over the road. This type of car, I mean, it feels like 1 out of every 20 cars where I live is a freaking Hyundai Sonata. It's unbelievable. Even in this generation, it's nearly, it's like a 15-year-old car. It's shocking that it's still so prominently in existence. Guys are driving them around. I don't know, maybe their odometer is probably higher than mine. I see these cars all over the road. The presence that they have here in New Jersey is absolutely abundant. And what's good about that is if you want to stay low key, you know, you can blend in with traffic. You know, I'm not driving a pink Cadillac. You can park this car anywhere. They're not going to know it's you. Nobody's going to know it's you. There's a million of them, which is what I like about the car too. So there's pros and cons of having a common car. One, it may not be as interesting as you'd like, but on the other hand, it's very inconspicuous. It's a total low-key car. It is not a cop magnet. Some Corvettes, no matter what you're doing, you could be doing 5 under, you're getting pulled over. So who do I recommend this car for? Who's the ideal buyer for a car like this? Well, a guy who's got a budget in mind. It's not a car that you want to baby. It's not a car that you feel like you're doing damage, you're losing value, every little scratch, every little nick. It doesn't matter. It's a car that you can use it recreationally, you can enjoy yourself. It's got plenty of power, it's fuel efficient. Obviously, if you're a professional salesman and you're picking up clients and you're going to places, you're a real estate agent, whatever it is you're doing, you may not want to be seen in a worn out Hyundai Sonata. Somebody who's on a budget, somebody who's just starting out, a young college kid, somebody who's maybe retired, who's watching their money. It's a perfectly fine car for someone who's on a budget. It's a good idea for a guy who's on a budget or a guy who's conscious about his money and what he spends money on. Get yourself a used Hyundai Sonata. So tell us about your Hyundai Sonata and your Hyundai Sonata stories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.